go big, little legs. Skinny kid with plenty.
Yo, what's up, YouTube? It's ZTAY, aka Lil Red. We got. Was peak James Harden, oh my god. Was peak Draymond Green the best defender ever? Shout out to Denver Dunville D Worth, man. Let's get into it.
Basically, the entirety of NBA history, when you thought of great defenders, you were usually thinking of players in two very separate categories. Usually, elite rim protectors like Hakeem Olajuwon or Tim Duncan, or lockdown perimeter defenders like Scottie Pippen or Gary Payton. But it was pretty rare to have both of those skills blended into one player, let alone someone that was able to do both at a high level. But then, in the mid-2010s, the Warriors...
I would argue the closest thing to that was probably Dennis Rodman, right? Or could he not play perimeter?
Draymond Green.
Blocked by Draymond Green. Green stole the ball. Green stole the ball. Oh, blocked by Green. He did it again. What a play by Draymond. That ball knocked away. Draymond kept it. Who's there right there to contest it? But Draymond Green, excellent defensive play.
I think I'm the best defender to ever play this game, and I'll put myself up against anyone.
I really gotta think about that. Was he the best defender ever? 2015, 2018, this is his defensive peak. All right, let's get it. Ultimate modern defender, that's facts.
Even though Draymond was pretty much always known as an elite defender, most people would consider his absolute peak to be between 2015 and 2018, as this was the point where he was in his athletic prime. Pairing his physical abilities to his otherworldly defensive IQ meant that he could do just about anything on that end of the floor. Standing at 6'6", Draymond was an undersized power forward in terms of height, and therefore was
6'6". And they still play him at center today.
Often underestimated by bigger offensive players, especially in the post. But even though he was shorter than most forwards at the time, he made up for it with his core strength and 7'1" wingspan.
Okay, 7'1" wingspan.
Quickly turned the matchups in his favor. And this unique ability would be instrumental.
I would probably maybe argue Kawhi Leonard might be one of the best defenders.
The Warriors.
Draymond is different though.
With a 6'6" Draymond Green at the center position. Because not only did you need to worry about this, when they got the stop, he was also one of the best playmakers on the other end, especially in transition. And this was during a time where a lot of front court players were just too slow to be able to keep up with these fast breaks. It was an absolute nightmare of a matchup. But going back to the post plays, during the 2015-2016 season, which was the first season the NBA started tracking post-up data, players posted up Draymond an average of 2.2 possessions per game, tied for the fourth most in the NBA. And
really? It's probably because he's 6'6". So they started tracking this in 2015. So we don't even know before this. We don't even know.
On these possessions just 33% of the time. These numbers put him in the 89th percentile for post defense that season, which is comparable to many other bigger players at the center position.
What does that mean? 89th percentile. I'm trying to really think. Hold on. I don't know. I don't know what that means.
Pau Gasol, Tim Duncan,
85th percentile. What is that?
And this trend continued into the next couple seasons, including 2017, the season in which he won Defensive Player of the Year.
Okay, that is Lakers' Carlos Boozer. All right.
Here. While he was better in other areas,
Lakers Carlos Boozer.
End, his post defense was still among the best in the
Boris
league.
Diaw.
And on the topic of his defense in the area around the basket, we also need to talk about his rim protection, which is a weird thing to be talking about with a player that's 6'6".
That's true.
During his peak,
that's on
one of the best rim protectors in the league.
That's on
Clint. Around 4.5 defended shots at the rim during his peak years, and holding opponents between 50 and 55% on these shots during that time, which is a mark consistent again with a lot of the top rim protecting bigs around the NBA.
How much was he averaging?
Some of these coming from those post-ups we talked about earlier, but others coming from his defensive rotations. Around this time, Draymond became arguably the best roamer in the NBA. Having a rim protector like Andrew Bogut on the floor with him at times definitely helped, but a lot of the time where he was actually playing...
See, listen to what he just said, Rob Pelinka.
Bogut on the floor with him at times definitely helped.
Having a rim protector like Bogut definitely helped. Now, Anthony Davis, we've seen is one of the best roamers in the league. Now, if we could get another rim protector like JaVale McGee and Dwight Howard like we had when we won the championship, like it's going to be different. Now, Draymond and AD got to shoot that three if they want to do that, because modern NBA, you can't have two interior bigs,
but
right?
a lot of the time where he was actually playing this role, he was the main paint protector. Take this play for example. The Blazers tried to put JaVale McGee in pick and roll as he was the most vulnerable matchup on the floor, especially guarding in space on the perimeter. Because of Dame's shooting ability, JaVale has to come all the way out to the three-point line, at which point Dame attacks downhill. Draymond starts dropping, which forces Dame to make a decision. Noah Vonleh starts cutting, but Draymond positions himself in such a way where he's able to cut off the drive and the attempt at the rim after the pass.
And he's got JaVale
This is
McGee
a
on his
skill
back
that he would
too. He's
become known
terrified.
for
Yeah,
during
better
this
pass
time,
that.
as it was pretty rare for a player of any size to be able to stop the drive and get back to the rim all in around 1 second.
The fact that he's undersized doing it is very impressive.
In a play earlier this series, except this time it was a fast break and he was the only player back, leading to one of the craziest defensive stops possibly in the history of the game. Plays like this were not that uncommon either, leading people to believe that he was the best help defender in the league for most of these seasons.
He is a great help defender.
He was able to cover, and his ability to map out the possessions in real time was unlike pretty much any other player in the league at that time. Draymond in this time span averaged 1.3 blocks per game.
1.3 blocks a game?
Most of them coming close to the basket, and a good amount of them coming against players that were taller than him. But his wingspan was also instrumental in his ability to block shots from smaller players, because it meant that it was easier for him to stay as vertical as possible while still being able to get a piece of the ball, which was noteworthy and important as smaller players are naturally going to get more love from the refs in these types of situations. So by extending his reach, he minimized his chances as much as humanly possible of being called for fouls.
I'm not gonna lie, bro. It's kind of embarrassing getting blocked by somebody 6'6". Like, is he even jumping that high? He's not even jumping that high. He must really have that 7'1" wingspan.
As humanly possible of being called for fouls. But whether it was against a guard or a center, most of these blocks were a result of his otherworldly defensive rotations. And this brings us to the topic of general off-ball defense. This was the area where he set himself apart from everyone else in the NBA. During his peak, he was a master of reading the offense and being able to blow up plays. Take this play for example.
Great drop defender.
Oh no, he's on the weak side. And Draymond breaks off of Taj Gibson to immediately blitz Adams with Zaza.
He's guarding both of them.
Zaza recovers back to Taj, and Adams gives the ball back to Russ. This time, Russ rejects a screen, which gets Klay Thompson out of position due to Westbrook's speed,
quick lateral movement.
Is forced to drop again. He forces Westbrook to give the ball up.
Look at that lateral movement, bro.
This time. So Steven Adams lobs the ball in, but as soon as Draymond lands from the first jump,
I'm not gonna lie. There's a reason that you don't see two interior bigs no more, because of stuff like this, bro.
He's able to jump again and break the pass.
Because of stuff like this.
Play, where Jeff Teague has the slower Andrew Bogut on a switch.
Because then you have somebody. I mean, okay. We got Paul Millsap. That's what I was trying to find somebody. I know they got another big. Paul Millsap is stretching the floors. So you could just tell Livingston, hey, rotate, get this guy in the short corner, leave Millsap. I'm gonna help from the weak side, fully commit.
He attacks downhill, but this is a point where Bogut is still very much in range to get a block.
Respecting Paul Millsap though.
So Draymond is able to make the split-second decision of playing him for a pass instead of a shot, which leads to him breaking up a drop-off pass to the
he got great hands.
A theme that you'll see a lot from Draymond.
He's got great hands, bro.
Is the fact that he would very rarely be out of position or
that's such an annoying defender to go against, bro.
Was so high that it seemed like he was just always in the best.
Oh my goodness! Looks like 2K25. A lot of people mad at all the steals.
On-court coaching. Many people know Draymond as a player that talks a lot in game, and while some of that may be trash talk towards the other team or absolutely berating an official, most of his talking is actually with his teammates to put everyone in the ideal spots for a defensive stop. We saw a lot of this in 2018 as the Warriors became more connected affected on defense, and especially in their Western Conference Finals series against the Houston Rockets. With Steph Curry being the weakest defender on the floor, Houston was dead set on trying to involve him in as many actions as possible.
Yes.
Steph had struggled with foul trouble in both matchups with Houston in 2018 and 2019, so the Warriors did what they could to keep him out of as many compromising situations as possible. Steph already has one foul here, so Houston immediately tries to go at this matchup.
They're gonna switch everything.
Usually plays less physical.
This is the difference with Draymond compared to like a normal paint protector. Because you think of like a paint protector, you think of like Rudy Gobert or Wemby, right? Anthony Davis. Although I think Anthony Davis is good at what I say. You could switch them on the perimeter because he could play perimeter defense too. So it's like, okay,
he's about to be in foul trouble. Draymond
let's
sees
switch
this right away.
Let's see if
and
he's gonna load up.
Chris Paul
Yeah, just load up
in help position.
Load up.
He
PJ
tells Kevon
cutting
Looney to stay home.
Yep.
And is able to rotate over and alter Harden's shot.
That's actually good defense by Curry, though.
In the game, Harden is seeking the step switch again, so they pre-switch.
Look at that
when PJ goes.
He's
to
smart,
set the pick.
bro.
Houston counters.
Draymond gets in his bag
PJ
on defense and transition,
and having Chris Paul set
and the roll, short roll too.
Clay does a good job of fighting over the first time, but gets caught on the rescreen. The second that happens,
bro, it's so crazy. This is exactly. You see what the Rockets are doing? This is exactly what the Mavericks tried doing to the Celtics. And this is why I knew the Mavericks was going to lose, bro. And this is why I say Luka is so much like James Harden. You see, they're just hunting switches. This is all the Celtics did versus, the Mavericks did for the Celtics. They were just hunting matchups. They spent all this time trying to attack one defender. But then you're going to get tired because it's ISO ball. You know, the ISO ball stuff don't work, bro.
Off the drive, and he's actually telling Clay to rotate to the corner.
Okay.
But seeing that Chris Paul is playing very legal offense, he realizes that he needs to be the one to rotate. But with the speed that he recognized the situation, he's still able to get a decent contest off. This was a night.
Plus, it's Draymond running at you. It's Draymond running at you on that closeout. You don't know if he's gonna injure you, bro. And that's why I think Draymond's a really good player. Sometimes he plays so aggressive, it's going to affect the shooters. He's got good closeout. He got challenger on Hall of Fame only because he's a defensive menace. Like, he might kick you when you're in your jump shot and just let you shoot free throws. You're just going to have to feel some pain.
He needs to be the one to rotate. But with the speed
you see Draymond running at you like that, I'm scared too, bro.
That's the situation. He's still able to get a decent contest off. This was a nightly thing. Everyone talks about the incredible offense of this team, but this Warriors team was always at the top of the league in defense as well. And this was what truly set them apart from everyone else at the time. No team in the modern era had ever combined this level of offensive talent with a defense that makes even MVP caliber players second guess themselves.
Bro, Iguodala, Draymond, and David West, that just seems like it's not fun to go against, bro.
Every single play. And
I mean, David West is not the best defender, but
Here's
still.
Here's a play where DeAndre Jordan has Clay on a mismatch, so Clay and Draymond instantly call for a switch because they know they're about to lob the ball in there. That's what happens, and Draymond ends up getting a hand on the pass. As we mentioned earlier,
that's
Draymond
annoying,
in the
bro.
post is no longer a favorable matchup, so they start looking for other options. Gallinari starts cutting, but Draymond is playing him for that as well, and DeAndre isn't able to get the pass through the outstretched
He's got great
arm of
hands.
Dre. During the 2016-17 season, Draymond won Defensive Player of the Year while leading the league in steals.
I forgot about that.
Per game. A lot of
2
the
steals a
that
game
he got during his peak were a result of help defense. Usually in situations
where
the offensive player would be driving to the rim,
playing the gaps
on his hip, where Draymond was able to step in and swipe at the ball. While this isn't entirely Draymond,
just
he
stunting,
still had the skill to be able to time
get my hands in there
perfectly nearly every time.
My hands in there.
This play is an example of his superhuman IQ paired with that ability, where he jumps at the pass, and while Tony Allen is
recovery,
Iguodala, it takes Draymond a split second to look back, process the play, and quickly reach in and get a hand on the ball all in one motion. This was another factor that made him so dangerous, because it meant that at the same time you were warding off your primary defender on a drive, you also had to have even more awareness of where the help was coming from. But while he did
make a Draymond Green build in 2K,
he got a lot of on-ball strips as well, which brings us to his
on-ball defense. This is what I want to know about. Let's see this.
Traditionally, when you got a front court player switched onto you, it was more than likely likely going to be a blow-by situation. Power forwards and centers are usually slower, especially on the perimeter, and so it was common knowledge to try to get that mismatch and go to work. But throughout history, you have those very rare, select few players where this just wasn't an option.
Who do you think those very rare options are? It's definitely not Rudy Gobert. In the modern NBA, I think Bam Adebayo might be one of them. Anthony Davis, as big as he is, as tall as he is, he's not a bad perimeter player. Who else? Maybe, I don't even know if Dennis Rodman was really a good perimeter player. Like, who else, man, besides Draymond?
Draymond was one of those players. During his peak,
what's a big that could just switch consistently?
A lot of ball handling guards.
Have no problem on the perimeter.
His awareness and IQ. A big reason for his perimeter defense being so locked down during these seasons was because of his
switch everything, keep JaVale as a low man.
Players in the league,
and then he's got great weak side help.
The 2015-16 season was his absolute peak, at least in seasons that were tracked. He led the league in defended ISO possessions per game at 2.4, and team shot.
Denver, where do you find this stat, bro? That's crazy. Draymond isolation defense 2015-16. So they went at him 2.5 times. Wait, whoa, hold on. What did he say?
Led the league in defended ISO possessions per game at 2.4, and teams shot 31% from the field in these situations, putting Draymond in the 85th percentile.
So they just went at Draymond all the time, and they only scored 30% of the time. The 85th percentile, maybe he's, I don't know. The hell is 85th percentile, bro?
His marks suffered a steady decline over the next couple seasons as the Warriors adopted a more team-oriented, switch-heavy defensive scheme with the addition of Kevin Durant. But it wasn't just isolation. In pick and rolls,
KD's one of those players that could play both.
That's because they usually went one of two ways. Either he was the dropper, and he would be able to make split-second reads on which player to pick up, or he was the primary defender, with the ball handler trying to get him switched off, where his screen navigation was elite as well. There weren't really a lot of answers that teams had for this, not just because of the abilities of Draymond, but also the backline defensive rotation that he would have waiting behind him. Usually a mix of Andrew Bogut, Festus Ezeli, or in the KD years, JaVale McGee, all of whom...
See? And that's the biggest thing, bro. And I think this is why it's so important to be able to have an anchor that's going to stay low the entire game, right? Like Rudy Gobert. But then when teams try to bring him up, the thing that's so different about Draymond Green, like, let's bring this guy out the paint. Now you got Draymond who could help from the weak sides, and now he could be the low man, roaming, like you said. Or when you're like, all right, let's get Draymond out the paint. Let's get Draymond on the perimeter. Now they got that Rudy Gobert, you know what I'm saying, that paint protector chilling in the paint, and now you have to score outside of the paint. And that's what makes Draymond so special, because he could guard on the perimeter, he could be a weak side rotator, he could play the gaps, or he could be a post defender. Like, he could do he might be, I don't know about the best defender ever, most versatile defender ever, 100%. Draymond Green, best defender ever. I don't know.
Big interior presence, and would often,
but you could definitely argue
any advantage created.
Definitely most versatile,
and it was right back to pick and roll all over again. Even in situations where it was just an isolation and he did get beat, he had few instances where he was able to.
The Lakers don't have this type of player besides Vando, and he's injured.
Behind, whether he wants to admit it or not, he does seem to have a lot of control over exactly where his hands are. This is true even in plays like these, where he's constantly moving his arms around in order to take away as many of the player's options as possible.
He's got hands. Jordan Poole knows.
Before just stripping the ball away. He would also be able to do this when the player he's
got great hands, bro.
The ball. His hands were so quick that he could easily catch players off guard.
He got quick hands.
Primary ball handlers, and therefore weren't used to this type of defense and quick hands from someone at the same position as them.
Bro, he's just ripping everybody.
Marc Gasol catches the ball up top, and Draymond instantly
said,
pressures him
this guy can't dribble.
Him make a decision. This is so that the larger Gasol won't be able to just easily take him into the post. Mark understandably flustered, attempts to put the ball on the floor, where Draymond's hands are waiting to knock the ball away.
Damn.
This is what happens when a player can truly guard all 5 positions.
Yeah.
And no single play showcases this better than this possession in the 2017 playoffs. So the play starts out with Draymond on Evan Turner, and Portland has Steph Curry on Mo Harkless in the post, so Turner throws the entry pass, but Zaza drops to help, and Draymond
They really running a post up for Mo Harkless only because he has Steph Curry on him. That's just crazy.
joins him to force the ball out of his hands. Nurkic gets the ball, and
Now,
Draymond picks
no,
him
I
up.
damn
But with
left
Steph on the
finally.
ground, a 3-on-2 advantage is created up top. Pat McCaw recovers, and Klay Thompson is forced to play 2.
Yep.
But Klay's length prevents Dame
Look at
from making
Draymond.
his pass, which gives Draymond just enough time to recover back to CJ. And
Curry.
he tries to attack.
Curry
the
was
paint,
gonna
but
rotate. He said,
Draymond
"Nah, I
is
got
able
him."
to stay with him, and he also has backline help from Zaza. So CJ is forced to give the ball up, and Draymond tells Klay to switch. So now he has the Dame matchup.
And this is the problem with what the Warriors are trying to do now, bro. They want Draymond to be the 5, and now he has no backup behind him. He's got no low man. That's why I think Trace Jackson Davis and Draymond should start at the same
But
time.
with the shot clock down,
We'll
there's
see,
nothing
though.
that they can really do.
All the Warriors'
So Dame
success
is just
came
forced
with
into a
2
tough shot,
bigs,
which he
and the
makes.
second being Draymond.
Easily one of the most unbelievable defensive possessions I've ever seen from a single player.
Look at him switching on to
perfectly
everybody,
encapsulates
bro.
Who Draymond Green is on that side of the ball.
Yeah.
A player that has an unreal awareness of everything that's happening. A player that is able to lock down guards on the perimeter while also being great at defending players bigger than him.
Yeah.
And a player that opposing teams absolutely feared facing during his peak.
Yeah.
Other reasons may have played
Exactly
into
what
that.
I said earlier, bro. And that's why he got Hall of Fame closeout or challenger. That is because he does stuff like this and people are scared of it, which is why I like Draymond Green. I like when he, is kind of dirty because it literally makes him feared, which makes him an even better defender. And that's why you could say he is the best defender ever. You could argue like Kawhi Leonard, but Kawhi Leonard wasn't like, he was feared because how good he was, but not because of like, oh, he might injure me. So
But
that
defensively,
makes you a
there's
good
no
defender.
denying That after
I think last year he just went overboard a little bit to start.
You can at least make the case for him being in the conversation for best defender ever. And it's pretty clear to me that in terms of capability and IQ, he is in fact the ultimate modern defender.
Yeah.
I hope you guys enjoyed this video.
Shout out to Denver, man. Hey, I already know he spent a lot of time editing. This is a crazy edited video, man. Everybody go hit the like button, subscribe to Denver. Hey, man. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. Do you think Draymond Green is the best defender ever in his prime? And what do you think the Warriors should do this year? Do you think they should keep him at center, or should Trace and Draymond be in the game? Does that still work in the modern NBA? I don't know. What do you guys think? Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. This is ZTAY. Peace.